Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on a beautiful September the 30th, 2020. Round of Deportes, bonjour, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, I learned a new lesson last night listening to your buddy Donald Trump. When someone starts talking and telling the truth, just start raising your voice and yelling over. That way they can't get their message out, and your lie will stay in the front of the room. But I also want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, our doctors, our first responders. They don't stay quiet, Charlton. They go out and do their job every day.
Yeah, they really do. We'll do it, too. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars also all around the world. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear Welcome to the Show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away, and I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Big C, I love pausing. Man, Donald Trump should have paused last night. I was so embarrassed because young people were trying to find out how to get involved in American politics, and all they learned was, just like the school bully, just yell, shout, and scream, and you'll get your way. It doesn't work anymore. I'll never stop yelling, shouting, and screaming about the Veterans Crisis Hotline, Big C. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help, Big C. Why is that so important to you?
Well, Donald Trump has taken a pause on helping the veterans, Charlton. He lies about all of what he's done for them. He never talks about the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton. He never talks about that we lose over 24 veterans a day to suicide in this country. He's always touting about himself. He never denounces racism, but he never praises the military people who have served this country, calls them losers and suckers.
Yeah.
We try to help out our military veterans, Charlton, every day on our show. We announce the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, because so many people need that outlet. They need somebody to talk to that's non-judgmental.
Yep.
And that's what the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number does. It gives them a lifeline to stay alive, as well as everyday citizens of America. So people really don't have to keep giving out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, because we have so many people in America that are suffering mental illness and duress, and this will help them.
Yeah, it really does help them. We're going to work on your phone line, Big C. I want to say you can call that number 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can get some help. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV, On Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants, and the Say Hey Kid. When you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this country, putting in property listings on TV just like McDonald's does it. Car dealerships do it. And yes, sports teams are doing it too. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com. You know, Big C, I thought the first time I started paying attention to politics, it was right around Nixon, because I remember he kept giving that peace sign. And I remember just being a young kid, but my parents always wanted me to pay attention to what's going on in politics. But last night I learned about some type of group called the Proud Boys, and now they're sharing the group logo with the president's word on I guess, white supremacy and not denouncing it. Donald Trump felt so uncomfortable He wouldn't even denounce it, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, he's never denounced racism since he's been president of this country, Charlton. He's an advocate for it because he's a racist. His history has shown that he has a racist tendency in his background when he called for the death of the Central Park Five,
Yeah.
when he had the largest housing discrimination lawsuit from the federal government in New York State history. He has never
1973.
denounced racism. He says he doesn't know who David Duke is, but he's talked about David Duke on many occasions, the
Yeah.
leader of the KKK. But the president, this is just a typical bullhorn, not a dog whistle, a bullhorn that he's using now to say how he feels racist-wise in America. When you tell a group to stand down and be ready,
I know.
and yet you've been talking about them on the air since 2016 because you get it from your favorite media outlet, Fox News, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know who the Proud Boys are. You say you watch Fox News 8 hours a day.
Yeah. You know, it's a shame because it's not a shame because I'm glad to know what people really are. And I know that there are a lot of people saying, well, the president's 70-something years old and he didn't know what he's talking about because he's senile. He's either senile or he's a liar. Which one is he? And
Well, he says he has one of the best minds in the world.
Yeah.
That he has a memory like an elephant. He recalls everything.
Yeah.
And he recalls what's convenient for him. So he's a straight-up liar. And people are calling him out on that more and more now. But he spent his life lying. Ask him about his tax returns. He's still lying about that.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, you know, I was telling you there's a lady by the name of S.E. Cupp, I believe is her name, and she's a Republican woman, and she's always on television programs, and she mentioned some things last night that I've been telling you for about the past year, especially when he did that roughing up white kids at the White House with the military rubber bullets and, tear gas and whatever it was. But think about this. I think a lot of people have to understand that the Republicans just lost the election. They already lost it, but it was submitted last night. But I'm not even talking about the president. They lost their down ballot, Big C, for the 2021 Senate. It's going to be taken over by the Democrats because the decent people who were voting for the Republicans in the primaries all over this country, they're turning their back on that racism, this Governor Wallace bull Connor mentality, guys like Senator Mitt Romney, Mitch McConnell, they've all have endorsed this, and they've said nothing. They've said nothing at all, and I believe it's going to hurt the Republican down ballot, Big C. The president's going to lose, he knows that, but it's the other Republicans running for their congressional districts that are going to lose too, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it's more important that they turn over the Senate than it is turning over the presidency. You don't understand thinking that the president is running this country. If the Democrats control the Senate, then they can halt any and everything that the president does. They not only can do that, they can also impeach him. They can have him out of office if he wins again. So as people concentrate on just the presidency, you get deflected. The Senate is more important than the presidency because the Senate can control the president. Yeah,
well, he's going to get voted out, but the Senate, I'm telling you, the Republicans have lost the Senate in 2021. It's coming up. You heard that first on Big C Sports. Well, I know people want to watch the game, but that's the problem with this country. There's so many people that think, well, why do I want to vote? Why does my vote matter? Because they're trying to take away your vote, you dumb butt. He's trying to become an autocratic president. It's not going to work. When he denounces his own FBI director who says the Proud Boys are this white extremists or a hate group, and they're the number one threat to American democracy. And he says, no, my FBI director doesn't know what he's talking about, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, he's constantly how intelligent that he is, Charlton. And when you're denouncing the security division of the United States, when you think about the Secret Service, the FBI, and all law enforcement, and these are the top security agencies in the United States, and you're denouncing them because you don't want to hurt your money that's coming in from foreign countries. That's how you're staying afloat. He wants to stay president, Charlton, because he has lifetime security protection. That's the reason why he wants to be president. It's not that, he cares about the American citizens, because he did nothing to address coronavirus last night.
No.
As he's talking about pushing through a Supreme Court justice, which is his right, but it's also his right to protect American citizens. And when we've had 30 million Americans suffering since their packages run out from Congress, Charlton, that back in July 30th, that financial help package that they had, and they don't concentrate on that at all, but yet it's more important for them to push through a Supreme Court justice than it is to care about the finances and lifeline of everyday American citizens.
Yeah, even if he pushes her through shamefully, it's going to get balanced out. It's all a matter of time. But I'm going to ask you something too. And I know people want to watch the game, but those kind of people bug me because you're watching the game while they're taking away your right to vote. As an African American man, Big C, when he refused, like you always say this thing about you're either racist or anti-racist, and sometimes I agree or disagree with you. But when he said, this is what really makes me lean more to your thoughts. He says that he condemns racial sensitivity training because the reversal of it made white people feel bad. He called them other, but white people feel bad in the military and in the schools. If you want to understand how to end racism, you got to show how it systemically has been designed. So why would a president say that he doesn't want white people to feel bad when black Americans say it's affecting us and others? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's as simple as I say, you're either racist or you're anti-racist. He is continuously proving that he's racist because he's saying that it's offending people that they should have to be racially sensitive to people who have less opportunity in life than what they have. He's constantly stated that white is a superiority in the United States, and he doesn't want to change that. He wants to, as he always says, make America great again. He wants to make America what the Constitution says. And this is what people lose track of. He wants people to make America what the Constitution says. Black people are 3/5 of a human being in the Constitution. So the Constitution does not represent equal rights in America. That's why when you look at his Supreme Court appointees, Charlton, he's always talking about putting people in that will interpret the Constitution the way that it's written. So he has constantly told people from day one that he wants white supremacy in America all over again.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing, and I realize, but I also want to ask you this, because I know you know a lot of pastors, you know a lot of politicians, you know a lot of church folks down south, and you always said that football has overtaken Sunday because football is a religion. But how do they feel, and you can't speak for all of them, but are the ones that you know, the politicians and the pastors, Big C, how do they feel when Potus was just in Atlanta last week talking about his black economic plans and asking people to vote, and then he comes out and does not rebuke racism. He has so many people that are in the office under him, whether it's he or William Barr, Giuliani, they're all a part of his administration. But when they come to the black voter, why do they ask for God and the vote in prayer, but when it comes to their own ilk, the people who look just like them, he puts them in positions of power? He's not asking white people to pray for him. Why all they ask for the black pastors to pray, but they give white people the positions of power? Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, when black pastors, they understand how he gutted the Voting Rights Act. They understand how he's allowed voting polls to be closed. He understands how they have allowed to have black people expunged off the voting rolls. They know these are the things that he's done. You know, one of the things that black people like in life, Charlton,
yeah,
they want the person who's lying to them to come do it in their face. That way they're not getting it secondhand. And that's what Donald Trump did. They invited him in to come in and tell the truth, but they knew that he was going to lie, and he lied to them. That's what they appreciate. They're not going to tell him that he's a liar. They say, thank you, go ahead on about your way.
Yeah.
Now we have a clear path of what we need to recognize.
Yeah, it's interesting. Trump's daughter works at the White House. Her husband works at the White House. Rudy Giuliani's son works at the White House. William Barr's son-in-law works at the White House. William Barr's daughter works at the Treasury. Trump's son does foreign business. Trump's daughter is getting Chinese patents and Saudi grants. We've been talking about that. And I hope those black pastors, I understand your point. They want to hear him say it. But why would you even entertain a rattlesnake? But it's all fair and love and war. Sometimes, as you say, you got to know what the snake is so it doesn't sneak up and bite you. Big C, is that what you said?
Well, you're always talking about you got to go to court.
Yeah.
When you're in court, which is what church is many a time.
Yeah.
And that's how black people look at church as court.
Yeah.
To come in and testify, to
Yeah.
tell the truth. And so when they invited Trump in to give him an opportunity, they wanted to have him testify in front of them. That's what they wanted so that they can have clairvoyancy about what to look for.
Yeah, well, very well said. Big C, I want everyone to get out and vote. Some people are still not registered. You got to get registered. Text the word VOTE to 26797. That's text the word VOTE to 26797 and register. Tell all your friends that Big C and the NFL said vote, especially in the swing state. Makes us the biggest vote in the history of the universe. Really appreciate that. Even over across the pond, they were embarrassed that Potus was like a bully. And I know how a lot of women put up with a man like that in the household. He did this in public. No wonder Melania Trump's always quiet and talks about be best. That's the only thing he wants her to do. I want to touch on what's going on that happened. I know we have the NBA playoffs starting tonight. The LA Lakers looking for championship number 17, if you can believe that, 17. And then the Miami Heat, they're trying to do their thing to overcome that. But I want to just get your thoughts on what it's going to take for the Miami Heat and the Los Angeles Lakers to become out victorious in this championship game in the bubble. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, all the Lakers have the Lakers as favorites in this series over the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
They have the top two players in the finals. They got the top two players who are going to get the calls from the officials in the finals. That's where they are. When you look at depth, the Miami Heat have more depth. They got the next four best players in the tournament.
Yeah.
They have players that they're hard to defend. You know, this is not a tall team when you look at the Miami Heat. You got Adebayo, who is 6'9", who is the biggest player, but he matches up well with Anthony Davis. What it's going to come down to, Charlton, is that you're going to have to get Davis and James. You're going to have to average at least 57 points a game between the two in this series for the Lakers to come out on top. I know they're going to get a lot of help from the officials. It's going to be about who goes through the free throw line the most frequently. I put my hands on the Lakers with that because, as you talked about a lot of times, Kobe died, earlier this year, and they're putting that sentimental thing on it from a league perspective.
Yeah.
But it was also 20 years ago when Kobe and Shaq won their first title together.
Yeah.
So when you think about an anniversary time that the NBA is looking at, all of that, I think, coincides.
Yeah, I mean, the whole sports world, we could be wrong, but I doubt it, because it's like a birthday celebration, and when it's time to blow out the candles and the candles don't light, that would be the analogous to Lakers losing this championship. I know things can, no one really cares about who won the championship in 1978, 1988, 1998, even 2008. We just don't think about it. People think about what's going on now in their own lives. I do wish both teams well. I just think the Lakers, if they play an inside-out game and Rajon Rondo would be their leader, the catalyst, I think the Lakers will hoist another championship. Big C, I want to bounce around today because I got to say this too. I know we love sports and we love politics. We love it all. But over in the San Francisco Bay Area, North Bay, I know you've been out to California where they have wine country over in Napa and Sonoma County. The North Bay fires, just north of the Golden Gate Bridge, they're asking 68,000 people to evacuate and to leave the North Bay area, which is Napa, Sonoma County, wine country. And I really hope that people listen to the authorities. This is the second time since 2017 they've had devastating fires in the wine country. I know Potus said there's no global warming, but can you please explain, when you guys are told to leave in the hurricanes and people do it, they gotta heed the warnings. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it comes down to arrogance, Charlton. If you're not willing to listen and you think you can outdo Mother Nature, especially fire, Mother Nature is undefeated.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. She's undefeated if you're looking from a sports perspective. So if you're not going to listen to the experts, then you're going to be in peril.
Yeah, I hope that people really just please get out and save your lives. Your life's more important than your ranch and whatever else you have. I want to touch on some NFL football. I know we got a lot of sports to cover today also, Big C. NFL Sunday's game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tennessee Titans, and I believe these two programs are undefeated, but they've been knocked out by COVID. Isn't that amazing? You could be an undefeated team, and your first loss of the season comes to COVID-19 that Donald Trump said was a hoax before the 200,000 Americans lost their lives. But the game's been postponed, put on pause, to either Monday or Tuesday. The NFL said in a statement today, Big C, that a new game date and time will be announced as soon as possible, adding that the postponement will allow additional time for further daily COVID-19 testing and to ensure the health and safety of the players and coaches and game day personnel. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, NFL is looking at this and taking it serious, Charlton, when you get this COVID-19 breakout. We talked about it just be a matter of time. Now, I'm not all secure about the NFL and just moving the game a day or two so they can get more testing in, I don't think that that's going to help the overall outlook as far as COVID-19 testing. But this has always been about money. Got to get the games played.
Yeah, they got to get the games played, but do they got to get the lives saved? Just like we're telling people, no one in the fire departments or in California are saying, hey, go ahead and play around with fire. It won't hurt you. It's not real. It's not going to hurt everybody. But when it comes to COVID, they're saying go ahead and play in it. The NFL also, they've had issues. They've issued another strong warning to coaches who will not wear masks on the sidelines during games, threatening suspensions and forfeiture of draft picks as punishment for failing to comply with COVID-19 game day protocols. Big C, do you agree with that? Your thoughts?
I totally agree with it. You have to have bylaws when you're a league, and if you're not willing to follow the league rules that they lay down, it's like a player when they fail a drug test. I mean, the league bylaws state you cannot fail a drug test and be on performance enhancement.
Yeah.
If you get caught, there's going to be restitution you have to pay, and it's going to be money out of your pocket on your suspension. So I think this is a good move by the league. You got some arrogant coaches thinking that, okay, I'm only getting fined.
Yeah.
Well, you're getting fined and lose some draft picks. You're going to hurt your team's future.
Yeah. Well, oftentimes they make it so much money when someone finds you $50,000, it may be a tax write-off anyway. Donald Trump can tell us about tax write-offs. Maybe a lot of the NFL owners supported him. Could you imagine these NFL owners who made billions of dollars because of 80% of their talent are black athletes, their employees, at least on the field, and they've given money to a guy that will not denounce white supremacy? Isn't that something? Fire the SOBs. And I think Big C Sports is really the only sports show that still talks about the political climate. Everybody else is afraid to talk about it. And before I get into some things about coaches, what is it about our white media, and black too, but the white guys control it for the part where the black guys work for it? Why are they afraid and they're so reticent to come out and say what they saw last night, which was bigotry against black Americans and Hispanic Americans and, Jewish Americans, anyone who's not pale and white? And they tell their sportscasters, don't talk about politics. They say talk about the fire when it's coming. Why not put out hatred, Big C? Your thoughts?
Kind of what you think about the tax code, Dalton. He's allowed these people, these corporations, to make a huge amount of money. So they're not going to cut off the goose that laid the golden egg. So they're going to limit what their broadcasters say. I mean, when you look at a sports program, that's what it is, sports program. That's what they're on the air about. It's going to be limited injection about politics. If you want to watch the news and get the political perspective, they tell you to tune to the news. They have their different outlets that they're utilizing, but if you're not sitting up watching Fox all day long, then you're hearing people denigrate the president for the negativity that he has spewed.
But if you're a sports program and you cover sports, and your sports producers and even some of your sponsors, they've gotten money from Potus by even voting for him. How come they can't talk about that, Big C? It's just honest. Your thoughts?
Well, the money that they've got, they want to keep making. Have you heard the Senate denounce President Trump? No, you haven't.
No.
The people who are making money off of Donald Trump and all of what he has done illegally, they're not going to denounce that. They're not going to disclose how much money they're making. When you look at Senate inquiries and you're investigating yourself, I mean, there's no difference in a police officer who kills somebody and comes in and writes the report.
Yeah.
The person who wrote the report is the person who committed the crime. So there's no one that can dispute what he's saying. And so this is the reason I always talk about the United States Senate. You talk about the dirtiest party in the United States history. Everyone focuses on Trump. Trump is not the issue. It is the United States Senate. The United States Senate has allowed all of these things to occur in the United States. They did not vote to impeach him.
Yep.
They had him. They had the right that they wanted to impeach him, but they said no because he's making us too much money. And so when you think about Trump, Trump is a distraction for the United States Senate.
Yeah.
And when people finally understand that the Senate is more important than the president because the Senate can eliminate the president, then you'll have an understanding of the finances of America. Think about it. The Senate doesn't give a damn about the American citizens. When you got 30 million American citizens unemployed and their stimulus package ran out and they refuse to renew it, but they're all in this pissy to get a Supreme Court justice confirmed before the election, who in the hell do they care about?
Yeah, that's very well said, Big C. And speaking of people, caring about, I know a lot of NFL coaches and owners have their own thoughts, but there's four NFL coaches that are on the hot seat. In my opinion, I mean, you might have your own thoughts. I've been thinking there's a Doug Marrone, Jacksonville Jaguars. There's a Matt Patricia for the Detroit Lions, even though he bought himself another week or two because some of the players from the Arizona Cardinals went down to Las Vegas and bet against themselves. Adam Gase, New York Jets. And then Dan Quinn, he was in the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago. But I think Arthur Blank might start to say, what have you done for me lately, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, when you think about these coaches and the position that they're in, Adam Gase doesn't have a clue right now to what's going on in New York. He and your good friend Sam Darnold are clueless. And like I said, they
Yeah.
need to sit Darnold down if they lose this game and get some trade value out of him in the future. When you think about Dan Quinn, we said this last year and it's again this year, dead man walking. I don't think that Dan Quinn will get a chance to dress up for Halloween in Atlanta. Matt Patricia, he'll make it through the season, and they will terminate him at the end of the season. But, when you look at Doug Marrone, he cleaned house in Jacksonville before the season started.
Yeah.
And so if they don't get to 500, he's got to get a moving van in.
Yeah, it's all just part of that musical chairs. 2020 has been really incredible for 2020, but a lot of people are going to be finding, it seems like, new places to stay. Please, if you're in the North Bay, north of the Golden Gate Bridge, Napa County, and then also Sonoma County, just evacuate. If the house survives, you got a place to come back to. But if it burns down, don't be inside of it if it burns down. Would you believe, thinking of things burning down before we come up on our Big C Pauls, Donald Trump, that man's something else. He had no plan for the economy, no plan for COVID-19, would not denounce racism, which I thought Bull Connor and Governor Wallace had died a long time ago, but they rebirthed in Donald Trump last night. College football, Donald Trump stated last night for about, 10 discombobulated seconds. He said that he's the reason the Big Ten football is back, and solely because of him. Not because of the administrators, not because of the presidents or the black athletes that play for free, but he said because of him, Big C. And what will he say when COVID-19 kills some of those players or when they get infected, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I told you this a couple of weeks ago when he took the trip to Kenosha that he was going to go and meet with the Big Ten commissioner about getting football back as well as some of the presidents. And it did come back because he promised them testing. But, as he raved last night during this supposed to have been, presidential debate about what you're going to do for the country, he's talking about a conference playing football.
Yeah.
That was more important than the American public.
Yep.
But when Big Ten players start coming down with COVID-19, and they will, we've seen it throughout the college football that's being played. The Big Ten will not be exonerated from that, Charlton. They're going to have positive tests. Will he step up and say, these players got COVID-19 because of my,
no,
to get them back to play so that I could get some votes in these swing states?
Nope.
When I got these players infected with COVID-19, it's my fault. Now, he has talked about that he knows the danger of COVID-19, that it's airborne. And the last I checked, football players are breathing hard all the time.
They are.
During competition. And so they're going to be passing these passages back and forth to each other.
Yeah.
But for a president to sit up and saying that he's doing America a favor by getting a conference back together and playing football and forcing these young athletes out there to risk their health for his game is total stupidity.
Yeah, it's total stupidity, but it's all fair love and war. And I asked my suburban white friends, I was talking to a lot of friends that were just talking about the debate last night, old and young, black and white, and so many people were disgusted. I'm talking Republican friends that were disgusted because he finally showed the whole world what he's like. And they knew what he was like, but it's like the people that say, well, that's family business. We don't want to talk about it out in public. But when family business gets out into the public, and you think about it, from my white brethren all over this country, that's the guy you voted for. Imagine telling that to your children when they go to school and get bullied, that you're supposed to suck up to somebody who's a bully. You know his wife feels really insecure. That's why she rarely talks. I've always said she's an abused woman. Yeah, I know she is emotionally. Verbally, yes. Physically, I don't know. But it seems like it's the same old pattern. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, and we'll be back in just a moment. I'm going to come talk about a little bit of baseball, Big C. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C Timeout, also known as the Big C Pause. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps that you can follow Big C Sports on, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. I want to get into Minnesota. The Minnesota Twins, Big C. Talking about taking a pause. They've been pausing. Think about it, Big C. The Minnesota Twins' postseason losing streak has reached a stunning 18 games, and now their 2020 season is over. They've been pausing a long time. The Houston Astros eliminated the Twins in a 3-1 victory on Wednesday at Target Field. And the Twins' playoff streak is not only the major league record, but it's the longest in the United States history of sports, Big C. Your thoughts?
And you got to think about the Twins, Charlton. 18 games without winning a playoff game.
Yeah.
That's a horrific number. And so when you think about those players, even going into the series, that had to be weighing on their mind more than anything else. Just the pressure of not having won a game in 18 outings.
Yeah.
I mean, they broke the streak that was 16 by the Chicago Blackhawks in the NHL, but 18 games of futility is a long time suffering for your hometown fans in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Yeah, well, fortunately, they can go to Target and get some of those wipes. You know, those wipes you can wipe your eyes with. Big C. They can go to Target and get some of those wipes. They got Kirk Cousins, and then the Twins get knocked out, too. It's all fair and love and war. Major League Baseball, finally, Freeman leads the Braves over the Reds, 1-0 in 13 innings. Freddie Freeman's single home run winning run in the 13th inning, finally ending the longest scoreless duel in postseason history. The Atlanta Braves defeated Cincinnati 1-0 in the opening of the National League Wild Card Series today. In the game featured, get this, Big C, you ever strike out 33 times, Big C? Your thoughts?
You know, Charlton, there was a whole lot of people that could not see the ball in the ballpark today, and there wasn't any fans in the stadium.
Yep.
But, you know, this was an outstanding pitcher's duel when you think about that. Freddie Freeman hit a walk-off in the 13th to lift the Atlanta Braves to that victory over the Reds. That is the most strikeouts. You think about this, Charlton. In 1976, the Cincinnati Reds played the New York Yankees in the World Series.
Yeah.
That's more strikeouts than both teams had in that World Series.
Wow.
In one game, they eclipsed that today.
Yeah. You can get 27 strikeouts in a game. They got 33 going to extra innings. Also, again, I just want to make sure I say this because I'm here in Northern California. For the people, and I hear some of my friends saying, welcome to the show. So I appreciate my Bay Area friends, my Bay Area white brethren that are saying, welcome to the show. I think it's really funny, Big C. Major League Baseball is great, but in the Bay Area, north of the Golden Gate Bridge, Napa Valley, Sonoma County, Napa County, please, just evacuate. They've evacuated 68,000 people. That would be like the whole stadium at Levi Stadium being evacuated, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, as you think about all of the people that are in harm's way, and these fires have been raging in California for seems like a month.
Yeah.
And you have to heed the warning because these fires don't lose.
Yeah, they really don't lose, but people tend to, I mean, they've been burning all over the state. People just don't listen. I don't understand it, Big C. They got to listen. Please listen. And tell them Big C said listen. I know you've been listening. Just tell people to leave, please. Major League Baseball, the Oakland A's, they jumped they jumped out early, Big C, on the road. I think it was 7 sterling innings, Chris Bassett, and held on to a 5-3 win. And to me, the A's really need to win. They've been always getting in and getting knocked out. But they got a game at the White Sox that's tied up 1 apiece. The Oakland A's really needed that win, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, they got swept last year in the wild card series, Charlton,
by Tampa.
They beat it up at home against the White Sox. So this is a big win for the A's, and hopefully they can keep their momentum going. They have the smallest payroll in all of baseball.
Yeah.
But they have some gaming players.
Yeah, they do. And ironically, we were talking about, Big C, the 68,000 people being told to evacuate the North Bay. That's probably within a 30-minute drive of Oakland. Major League Baseball announced today that they will allow up to 12,000 fans at the Coliseum for the American League Championship Series and the National League Championship Series and the World Series. So whether it's Oakland or Chicago and or Los Angeles, wherever they're playing, I know we still have COVID. Is it just me, or are people trying to rush and get fans back in the stadiums, but NFL coaches get fined for not having a mask? Basically, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, if you're only admitting up to 12,000 fans in a cavernous baseball stadium, I think as far as what you look at some of these NFL teams and college teams that are allowing up to 20,000 fans in their stadiums, you're going to have fans that are spaced out, that are going to be socially distanced from each other. And, if you have an open-air stadium, Charlton, it can be relatively safe. You're practicing social distance.
Yeah, I know they got to do it. I just know that sometimes, you can watch the game at home, but the announcers are at home for the most part. But it's all fair and level where people do what they got to do, just wear a mask. Also, Major League Baseball, Florida Marlins, led by Corey Dickerson, 3-run homers, are feeding Kyle Hendricks Big C in the 7th inning. And the Miami Marlins beat the Chicago Cubs 5-1 in Game 1 of the NL Wild Card Series. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, baseball is moving on, Charlton. You think about this abbreviated season of only 60 games, and we're already in the playoffs, and before you realize that the World Series will be on top of us, but the World Series will basically be on time. It's been played in October for the past couple of decades.
Yeah, it's amazing how it was, ever since growing up, baseball, the World Series always coincided with the fall and, of course, the changing of the weather. But out here in California, we've just had so much heat lately and smoke and fire, you can't really tell that we've had a change in the season, Big C. But I do want to say the Tampa Bay Rays, they took a 2-0 lead in their series today versus the Toronto Blue Jays, and Hunter Renfroe ripped the game open with a grand slam to lead the Rays to an 8-2 victory. Getting the grand slam is great. When you get it in the playoffs, Big C, is even more great, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the Rays have been the best team in the AL East all year long, Charlton, in this abbreviated season, and they came out with that big lift from Hunter Renfroe with that grand slam to lift them to that 8-2 victory and a commanding lead in their series.
Yeah, it's great. Baseball, I'm telling you, I know we're playing the games, and it's great to see people out working, Big C. It's just so different. It's like when lightning comes to town, it's a little bit different when the skies are clear, and COVID has been like a lightning strike. It's changed everything, but I am proud of these athletes that are trying to play. Some of them know it's not safe, but they're doing the best they can. Potus last night, among other things, that he was yelling and ranting and just, you ever have a wild dog, someone bring a wild dog in your house and it's tracking mud all over your furniture, mud all over your carpet, basically. Potus was like that wild dog that wasn't well trained fixing your house.
Well, it was a clown show last night. I mean, when you have 68 million people watching a clown show, regardless of who you are, Democrat, Republican, Independent, you have to say this is the buffoonery that we've been having for 4 years in the White House. This was nothing new from Donald Trump. This was the real Donald Trump. He just happens to be out on the stage. What hurts him more this time around, Charlton, is that he's not attacking a white woman.
Right.
He's attacking another old white man like himself.
Yeah.
And so he has a hard time in dealing with that. And so he has to, this is like when you have a couple young kids in your house that are 3 and 4 years old.
Yeah.
When they get mad with each other, they start yelling. When they think that one has an advantage over them, they start yelling. And this is where Donald Trump was. This is an old white man who felt that another old white man had an advantage over him. So all he can do is yell to get attention. He said, if I yell more and if I interrupt more, maybe you'll pay more attention to what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's embarrassing. But it's like I've said when I was growing up. I was talking to a friend of mine from the Bay Area, Caucasian man, and he's talking about some of the things he's going through in the economy and, relationship-wise. And I was asking him, had he seen that Donald Trump before? He said, yeah. There's something called the Lincoln Project where they bring up that information. But I'm just asking Americans, because I've always told you there's good and bad people, and I know there are. Everybody knows that. Dr. King said, judge us all by the content of our character, not the color of our skin. But when you have Republican white guys, they're not embarrassed by Donald Trump. They're embarrassed that the whole world got to see him without a filter on, Big C. And they're embarrassed now, but these are the same people that voted for him. So why are they embarrassed that it's out in the public now, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, they're not embarrassed. Like I said, this is a distraction. As you and many other people keep talking about Donald Trump, he is not the issue in America. It is the United States Senate that is the issue in America. The president is a figurehead. He has no power unless he controls the Senate. You think about what happened to Barack Obama when he was the president.
They blocked him.
He did not control the Senate. That's why they were blocking everything he did. They would not put in a Supreme Court justice that he had nominated would not even present a vote on the floor.
Yeah.
So as you think about what Donald Trump is doing, Donald Trump is doing what he wants to do. He wants to distract America to pay attention to him. That's why every week or two there's a new news cycle about Donald Trump. But who is controlling America? It is the Senate. The Senate has approved 300 federal and appellate judges and Supreme Court judges since Donald Trump has been the president.
Yeah.
When Barack Obama left office, there were 156 court vacancies that the Senate would not vote on.
They wouldn't
not
listen.
approve these judges that Obama had put forth. But they've approved over 300 with Donald Trump. So when you think about, everybody's talking about Donald Trump, I keep telling you, it's those old white men in the Senate that are controlling America. It's not Donald Trump. He's a clown show.
Yeah, well, Donald Trump, I'm telling you, he's still going to get voted out of office. He will be behind the polls as long as people show up and vote. And don't be afraid about some, whatever they call those boys. They are boys and not men. It's all fair and love and war.
Think about this, Charleston.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get voted out of office, the Senate is what needs to change. Stop being distracted, as well as the rest of America, by Donald Trump, on Donald Trump.
Yep.
Focus on the Senate and those senatorial races. That's where the true power is in America. Remember, earlier this year, he got impeached in the House.
Yeah.
Okay? It went to the Senate. They would not even bring it to the floor for a vote.
Yeah.
All right? They would not have a hearing. They would not bring in one witness. That's the power of America. He was impeached by the lower body.
Yeah.
But the larger body, who had the power to remove him from office, would not vote.
Yeah, and the Republicans going to lose the Senate in 2021. I understand your point, but he's still got to be voted out of office, Big C. And I want to go back to some things in college football, because he said he got college football back. That's how senile he is. College football, Missouri head coach Eli Dierkowitz, Big C, says that the SEC, I've always thought that Missouri should have stayed in the Big 12 geographically, but he says the SEC, down your neck of the woods, COVID-19 testing is kind of a free-for-all. You know they're going to try to get Missouri out of the conference, Big C. There's no uniform system on how we report it or people talk about it. Missouri was without 5 players. That's 5, Big C. I think they lost 38-19 to Alabama. They were without 5 players. And they published the survey results that show that nearly half of the Power 5 teams, they still would not disclose, like Donald Trump won't disclose, their COVID-19 testing, like his taxes, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, we've seen this already in the SEC as well as other Power 5 conference teams, that they're not going to report the COVID-19 positive rate. They're not going to be honest about it. Ed Ogeron said most of his players have had COVID-19 down at LSU.
Yeah.
Alabama had an outbreak a month ago on campus where they had, 1,500 students that tested positive. They sent the students home. And so the football players, they didn't send them home. They tested positive. They kept them out there playing, Charleston. So no one is really concerned about the health and welfare of these young athletes. They're going to go out there because they're cash cows for these universities.
Yeah.
And you think about the Power 5 conferences that are playing football. Each athlete is worth to these teams, Charleston, somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 in value of their scholarship.
Yeah.
If they play out there 4 years at the university.
Yep, it really is a shame. Especially it's a shame when you're the kids and you don't know you're being robbed. It's one thing when you know you're being robbed, but when you don't know it, it's all fair and love and war with Big C. College football, it really needs to get serious about enforcing, in my opinion, game mask protocol. But while the NFL is fine, and coaches are not, they're finding coaches for not wearing masks on the sidelines and threatening this with different penalties, the NCAA, their conferences, they're not concerned at all. And they're so unconcerned, they would rather hide it because that way no one interrupts the cash cow. That's not right, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, as they're not reporting players who are testing positive for COVID-19, this shows the recklessness of the coaches on the sideline running around without facial protection on during COVID-19. Now, these coaches are heated. They're yelling. They're spewing, passages out, flying out of their mouth. And you can see it. This is what coaches do. And they don't care about the health and welfare of everybody else on the sideline.
No, they don't at all, Big C. I know we're having some static with our phone lines today, but we'll try to clear it up. I want to bring something up to you because Man, I'm not saying it has to happen this year, but I believe if COVID's not going to be around forever. We're going to get on top of that. It may take another year or so, but when football gets back to normalcy, if that makes sense to you, the commissioners decline the college football playoff format. They decline having. We have a Power Five conferences that are invited to the Final Four for college football, and maybe some at-large team if they ever have a strong enough schedule. But they're declining to expand it. The Pac-12, which is usually kicked out of having their champion participate in the Final Four, even though last year the Pac-12 was the second most winningest conference when it came to winning bowl games, Big C. But if they expanded to 8, Larry Scott, I've always thought he was a crook for the commissioner for the Pac-12, but he wants to argue that they need to have at least 8 teams, and I agree with him for that. Let each team or each conference have their champion, and then 3 at large. That would make up 8. I think he's right about that. But you believe college football saying, no, we don't need that because they're colluding to keep that money in the South. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I love your naivety by saying that COVID-19 will be back to normal next year. No, it won't. COVID-19 is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. As much as people want to think that it is, we've only hit the tip of the iceberg when it comes to COVID-19. And as far as for the expansion of the college football playoff, there's no need for expansion of the college football playoff. All you got to do is win all your regular season games, and you automatically qualify. That's the qualifier for it. You're in the playoffs all year long. You don't need an extra game to lose to say, well, we should have been better. If you go undefeated, you're automatically in. 4 teams is enough.
No, not enough. That's not true, Big C. They have 4 spots. Okay, this is where that Southern Justice comes in that you guys are good with. They got 4 spots. There are 5 Power 5 conferences. You got 5 Power 5 champions. And you're going to tell me, how do you choose which Power 5 champion doesn't get the chance to pay or to play for the championship, Big C? Your thoughts?
It's the same thing in the NFL. You have how many playoff teams in the NFL? That's what it comes down to. Then you have these wild card teams. These wild card teams get in on an at-large berth because they did not win their conference championship. Same thing with the Power 5. If you got a Power 5 winner and you've lost 2 to 3 games on the season, and yet you can go to the other Power 5 conference, the other 4, Charlton, where you have 4 undefeated teams, why would you deny those undefeated teams an opportunity to go in? All you have to do is remain undefeated on the season. That's what winning a championship is all about. Winning, not losing. You don't win a conference championship having the worst record. You're not going to win a conference championship having 3 losses in your conference.
Yeah, but
why should you be allowed to go into the playoffs and you got 3 losses?
Well, if you painted the way you painted the story, the way you guys in the South do, that's like the politics, Big C. Let's say you got 5 Power 5 conferences, and each one of those conferences has an undefeated champion. Which one do you choose to leave home? Your thoughts?
Well, the one that you take has a better power ranking and the highest ranking according to the coaches and media posts. That's how it's done every year regardless. It's always been done like that. Think about prior to them having a playoff. How did you name a national championship team? When you talked about a team who had the best record, who had the best schedule, that's how they became the championship team prior to the playoffs. When you think about those teams that were down in Miami and Notre Dame back in those days, in the 80s and 90s,
yeah,
they didn't have a playoff in those days. It went based on record. I remember one year they had a co-championship at the University of Washington was a co-champ with somebody.
With Miami.
Because they were both undefeated, so they just named them co-champ.
Yeah.
You didn't have a playoff. The playoffs became a way to extend the opportunity to have more clarity in the championship. Think about this. In the NFL last year, the Baltimore Ravens had the best record in the NFL.
Yeah.
But they got eliminated like they had the previous year in the playoffs, Charlton. Just because you have the best record in NFL don't mean you're the best team. In college football, if you stay undefeated, then you're the best team.
Yeah, I still don't know how you take 5 champions that are undefeated and decide which one doesn't get to go. I think if they expand it, they can solve that.
5 champions that are undefeated. We have not had 5 conferences that have been undefeated since the playoffs started. The most we've ever had going into the playoffs with undefeated teams were 2. In any of the 5 years that this thing has existed, there's only been 2 undefeated teams that go in there. The one year that Washington got in representing the Pac-12, they had 1 loss on their schedule. That was it, 1. You have not had a Pac-12 team since that Washington team that made it in with Jake Browning, I believe, was the quarterback, that had less that had a minimum of one loss. And so when you have 2 and 3 losses and you win the Pac-12 championship conference, you're not going to represent the country in the playoffs.
Yeah, I still think that's Southern justice. You guys are afraid to play us, and that's why they don't want to expand it, because they would see what happened.
Auburn and Oregon played the beginning game of last season.
Down in the South, and Oregon got robbed.
Maybe you can refresh my memory on what the outcome of that game was. And then let's go a couple of years prior to that. I think it was a team called USC, played Alabama in that same stadium. Remind me what the outcome of both of those games was.
Yeah, it's called Southern referees, and you guys cheated just like you try to cheat.
So what you're saying is that when you throw an interception, that's the referee throwing the interception.
I'm saying you got.
That's the referee stopping you from scoring.
I'm saying you guys are afraid to let the Pac-12 in. You saw what Texas, USC had the best college football championship game ever in the history of college football, and that was the Pac-12 and Big 12. And then you had USC beating up on Oklahoma the year before. They've always had that bias against West Coast, but that's just my opinion, and I know I can't change your thought. But I do want to say in the final, yeah.
When was the last time SC won more than 10 games?
That's not the point. Oregon got in, and they lost to Ohio State in the final.
But you're saying let SC in because they...
No, I'm saying let the Pac-12 in. I'm saying let the Pac...
A couple of decades ago.
No, I'm saying
Oregon, how many losses did Oregon have last year?
That's not the point. They won the Rose Bowl, Big C. You got to let everybody in. If not, you're acting like the Republican Senate. You just vote in who you want to vote in. But I understand how you good old boys get down. I do want to jump to the WNBA. I want to say congratulations, the Seattle Storm and the Las Vegas Aces. Imagine Las Vegas has a team that's playing for a championship, WNBA. It's the best of 5 series. It will begin on Friday night, Big C. It's a shame you have 2 West Coast powers that are playing for the WNBA championship, and they're playing down south. If they left it up to the college football champions, they would not allow anybody from the West Coast to get in Big C.
Well, when you think about Vegas and their run in professional championships, you think about the Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah.
They had a run at the Stanley Cup a couple of years ago, and now you got the Las Vegas Aces of the WNBA with a run at the WNBA championship.
Yeah.
So when you think about the West Coast, their representation is in Vegas.
Yeah, it's coming to Vegas, and a lot of things go to Vegas, and everything that happens in Vegas, it doesn't always stay in Vegas. A lot of people can attest to that, Big C. I want to jump on something because I think, boxing, I know you're a big boxing guy, and they've already talked about moving this fight. Football has knocked out boxing. COVID-19 has knocked out football, or at least put it on pause in most conferences. Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury Part 3, that was supposed to happen in December, but they're deciding they're going to move that date down the road because there's too many football games going on. Since when has boxing been afraid to compete with football, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, it's not that it's afraid to compete with football. You have to be able to put it in an arena where you can have fans there.
Yeah.
It's hard to have a boxing match in an empty arena. We talk about the emotion of the crowd and how the athletes feed off of it. Boxing feeds off of it as much as anything. And to have an empty arena in an event that intense and that big for the undefeated championship, for the unanimous championship of the world, heavyweight championship of the world,
yeah,
you want to potentially have fans in the arena.
Yeah, you want to have, but they're doing it in Fight Island. UFC is doing it over in Dubai without fans at all, and sometimes it's exciting, sometimes it's not.
Lots every week in the UFC.
Yeah.
They don't need fans, they just fight.
they Like Kimbo Slice back in the day, he didn't need the fans. He just needed the backyard and somebody who was dumb enough to get in the backyard with a Big Z. The NBA, I know it's kind of like musical chairs. Doc Rivers let go by the LA Clippers. Steve Ballmer can do what he wants to do. And there's so many talks about where he could land. I think if he were to land in Philadelphia, there's a lot of people. Tyronn Lue may be the next coach for the Clippers. But if he lands in Philadelphia, he has Joel Embiid and Simmons, Big C. I think he has a good 1-2 punch and maybe bringing some other players along. I think Doug has a lot of good coaching in him. And sometimes you get caught up in the COVID-19 season. And he does have a championship trophy. There are people that may have had better playoff records, but he has a championship. And when a guy with a championship can't get a job, whether it's Tyronn Lue or whether it's Doc Rivers, that doesn't make any sense. I think it would fit very well with Philadelphia, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the best thing for Doc Rivers to do is just to take the entire year off. Sit back, reassess yourself.
Yeah.
Reassess the next job opening that's coming up, because next year there's going to be another 4 or 5 openings in the NBA. And right now, what we've seen in Philadelphia doesn't seem like Simmons and Embiid can play together. So I would look for a better situation other than what's in Philadelphia. And if you wait another year, who knows what will open up for you in the NBA?
Yeah, it's all fair and love and war. I know people are going to do what they want to do, and I really hope the best for everybody. Again, because I'm here in Northern California, north of the Golden Gate Bridge, if you're in that area, Napa, Sonoma County, it's beautiful territory, but it's being burned down to the ground. And I don't know what it is, whether it's global warming. It's as if somebody's setting fires. I mean, no one really knows how these fires are starting. Is it lightning storms? You normally don't have lightning when it's 100 degrees and no rain, so we don't know how it's happening, Big C. Cynically, a friend of mine said, and I want to get your thoughts, it's a cynical thing, but they legalized cannabis in California, and people can make more money with cannabis than they can with wine. I mean, I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but it's a very cynical thing I heard, and that would be frightening if that came true, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, everybody has different thoughts on how these things occur, Dalton. You just concern yourself with the plight of the people that are there in Northern California.
Yeah, I really do. I wish everybody well. I just know that I've been around it, and I know people that are affected by it, especially a lot of people in the Bay Area media. I used to do games up in the North Bay, over in the Bay Area, and I know there's a lot of people over there that I know that are affected by it, and I just hope they heed the warning. For those of you watching the debate last night and you still feel like you want to throw up because that's not an example of what the United States, we are not an autocratic country. We do not need autocratic leadership. And when the Potus' whole family works in the White House, you know he's up to no good. I want to tell people, God bless Big C Sports, the new, sexy, clever, engaging, bold, and thrilling. And we want to be funny and thoughtful. But for the most part, we really want to be honest. If you can't Google what we say, if we can't tell you that what we're doing is real, and you can't fact check it like you should fact check the president, then don't listen to us. But also fact check everybody else that's telling you things. I want to say one thing on Big C. If you're doing something and it feels good and you want some more, just Google it. I was asking you last night before we close out. I was asking you, what do you think we're going to see in the debate tonight? You said Potus was going to try to be one of those dogs that come in out of the house, in the house, put mud all over the carpet, a mud fight. You said he was going to try to attack Biden's son, which I thought was despicable. There are a lot of kids in the United States that have issues with chemical dependency. For this knucklehead of a president to attack another man on his children who have an issue like that, Big C, he lost my respect a long time ago, but I think he lost a lot of the white vote also last night, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about drug dependency in America, it's mainly white America that it affects. And it affects a lot of generations of families. We talk about the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton. A lot of those families rely on that in getting help for their children and even for themselves because of drug dependency. Drug dependency has become rampant during COVID-19, Charlton, because people have been depressed, they've been locked down, and they're looking for out. And a lot of them have turned to drugs and alcoholism. And for the president to be insensitive to that fashion, Charlton, which I knew he would be, because as I tell people all the time, he does not give a damn about an American citizen. He's caring about his pockets. He has protection from the Secret Service to save his life from the people that he owes money to.
Yeah.
That's all he's concerned with right now. And for him to go out there and not talk about what he's going to do for America, how he's going to get America straight, how he could have easily passed a resolution, Charlton, to allow Americans to have extension on that aid package that they received that ran out in July.
Yeah.
When he talked about last night that he's wanting to abolish the Affordable Care Act because he signed an executive order to protect pre-existing conditions. Him signing an executive order is just like you sending a bill in without the check in it. It doesn't mean anything, okay? That's where he is. So when you think about the clown show that he presented last night, and like I say, he is a distraction. People keep talking about him. You need to put, and you and your friends and everybody else need to put the emphasis on the Senate. The Senate is what's controlling Trump. The Senate has allowed Trump to run roughshod over America. If they didn't, they would have impeached him. So America needs to stop getting distracted by Trump and pay attention to the Senate. Because if you had a Democratic senator, he would have gotten impeached and he would not be in office. He would have been gone at the beginning of the year. But as long as you let the Senate stay in place and you want to be distracted by him, everybody's losing focus of what's happening to America.
Yeah, well, he's still got to be voted out. Make sure you guys register to vote. Text the word vote to 26797. That's vote to 26797. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, last night in this clown show of a debate, we had your friend Donald talking about he was the reason why college football is back in the Big Ten. I just hope that the Big Ten stays on top of COVID-19 testing and protects those student athletes that are going to be out there, just like the people I like to thank every day, our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, our doctors, our first responders. They make sure that they protect American life every day.
Every day, you guys stay safe. Heed the warnings. If you're in the North Bay, just evacuate. Life is more important than your property. Every Monday through Friday at 5 to 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, that's never, ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage all on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.